Well, welcome everyone. Another Wednesday, another time to have a little lunch and learn a few things. Today's presentation is going to be a little bit different. We're going to step outside the standard traditional wearable market where we just talk about devices or we talk about nutrition, and we're going to actually talk about what makes these things different, what makes them effective, what actually is going to have the ability to get you to where you want to go. And recently ID Life partnered with a worldwide leader in this market, and I thought it was a good time to explain the wearable difference, if you will. So let's kind of jump right in. First and foremost is we are getting more technology in our lives. Everywhere from the bottom right where you have smart clothing. If you haven't seen this yet, this is not Orson Welles type stuff. This is stuff that actually exists now. Talk to any hunter out there, and they'll talk to you about socks that warm themselves, or communication devices that they can wear as far as sunglasses go. We all know what Bluetooth devices are. We all have a smartphone in our pocket that does any innumerable things. We have the iPads, the ebooks, the fitness bands, the smartwatches. We're being inundated with technology. And, we just don't know when we look at it whether or not the cool factor will actually result in getting us the results that we're looking for from it. And a lot of times we make purchases and we buy things with one expectation, and it turns out a completely different way. And part of today's segment is all about trying to give you some education on what we believe to be the best fitness tracker out there. But let's start out with some interesting facts about stats and wearables and where we are and what's going on, because I think there's some misconception in the marketplace with regard to some of these things. First and foremost, 1 out of every 6 Americans owns and uses a wearable device. Now, this is not a smartphone, because obviously that number would be much higher. What I'm talking about is something you wear on your wrist that actually measures some factor of your daily activity. Anywhere from steps to heart rate to you name it nowadays. I mean, there's any number of things that these things can do. But 1 out of 6 Americans owns them. And the projection is by 2020, 1 out of 3 will, because they're becoming more and more prevalent in our daily lives. Now, what's interesting is the ages of the people that are using them. See, because 18 to 34-year-olds, 48% of them own a device. Now, you just heard me say 1 out of every 6 Americans owns one of these things. You have to realize that's all Americans, all ages, from birth to our centurions out there, the people that are over 100 years old. But the reality is a large population of our 18 to 34-year-olds, almost 50% of them own one. But if you think that number's impressive, look at this one. 16 to 24-year-olds, 71% of them have a wearable device that they wear on a daily basis to track something with their daily activity. The age of people using wearables is young. People like to know what's going on. So what does this mean? Why is that number important? Well, because corporations are jumping into the mix as well. See, corporations are testing wearable devices for any number of things right now, but one of the main ways that this is starting out is as a security access device. That's right, they're starting to have your card key access and all of these things that you're so accustomed to in these high secure workplace environments are now going to be tied to your wearable device in some form or fashion. Another one is employee time management. A way to encourage employees to manage their time more effectively, a way to communicate. And in speaking of communication, there's a large number of Fortune 500 companies right now that are utilizing the technology of wearables as an internal communication device. That's right. Watch out, George Jetson and all the rest. We are getting closer and closer to getting untethered from the telephone and being tethered to the new device that follows us anywhere and everywhere we go and at all times. So, it's funny how the number one excuse we keep giving on things that we don't get done is we don't have enough time, but somehow we keep trying to figure out how to fill up the time that we do have to ourselves with these devices and how we stay connected, if you will, to our workplace and other places. And companies are working on that as we speak. The other thing that's interesting in some of the studies that were done and published in the Journal of the American Medical Association was that employees that wear wearable devices reported an 8.5% increase in productivity and a 3.5% increase in job satisfaction. There wasn't a lot of detail in the study to really explain the findings or how they got to those percentages, but I can tell you corporations are taking notice of this, and they are starting to understand that if they can get a healthier workforce, it equals a more productive workforce. And that's really kind of the focus what this presentation is all about. Because if we can get an employee that's not lethargic, that actually is in a healthier lifestyle, that actually is taking care of themselves and doing what they need to do, then they have more energy, they have more focus, and they have the ability to get more things done. So this study kind of confirmed that. But what if a study was done, and one was, as you probably have guessed, that basically tried to gauge the people that were on a weight loss journey, those that wore wearables versus those that did not. Which one would be more successful? Is wearing a wearable device in and of itself enough to provide you better results in your health and wellness goals? Well, what they found was the people that actually wore the wearables lost on a 2-year average 5.3 pounds fewer than those that didn't. Now, there's some reasons behind this, and part of it is why we're having this presentation today. And a lot of it has to do with some simple factors that you have to appreciate and understand about wearable devices and their limitations, especially before making a purchasing decision, that contribute to this outcome or this finding. First and foremost, the 10,000 steps a day. You ever wondered where that came from? You ever wonder if it was scientifically based? Well, the first thing you would have to understand where this came from is that it started out in 1960s in Japan. See, there was a little device, and it was called, and I'm going to probably get this wrong, and if I have anyone that's on the presentation that wants to tell me how to pronounce it, I'd love to learn, because I'm a big key to my success is keeping learning. So I'm going to pronounce it as Manpo Ki. I hope I didn't get that too wrong. But the loose translation of that in Japanese is 10,000 step counter. See, in the 1960s, Japan had a lot of walking clubs, and what they did was they had a pedometer that was very well known and that sold a lot and had a big marketing campaign. And what it was the 10,000 step counter, or the loose translation was the 10,000 step counter. That started the 10,000 steps a day fad, if you will. And now today, we all are triggering for that 10,000 steps a day. That's what we're all moving for. But the science isn't there to support it. In fact, what the science tells us is that each person is individually designed. Each person needs a different amount. Depending on what you do on a daily basis, 10,000 steps may not be enough, or 10,000 steps may be more than you need. It is a good tracking goal. It is something that, is a good number to try to achieve on a daily basis. And it is, something that from a fitness standpoint has some merit with regard to its number. But from a scientific standpoint, just know that each one of you is a little unique, and don't feel like you're a failure if you don't hit that 10,000 step mark. That's the whole purpose of pointing out that as an issue. Second thing is the scale. We know that this thing right here is not our friend. In fact, we also know that 90 to 95% of diets fail, many times because the number on the scale discourages us as opposed to encourages us. So let's roll back to that wearable finding where it said 5.3 pounds fewer. A lot of it has to do with the fact that if you have a wearable device and you buy the wearable device with every intention of doing everything that it says you should do, the 10,000 steps a day, watching your weight, all these other things, and the two parts of the program that you're most focused on is whether or not you hit your 10,000 steps a day. By the way, the average Fitbit, a lot less than that, different reports, but the one that I've seen most recently is just over 3,100 steps a day. But if all you're focused on is the number of steps you take a day and the number on the scale, you have a constant discourager on your wrist and below your feet. And it's hard for people to stay encouraged and stay on path when all they have is these discouraging items to look at. So you might want to think that that's the reason why that's the issue. See, because at ID Life, we wanted to do Healthy Simplified. We developed a program to take these discouragers out of the equation, to encourage people by providing them the true measures of health, by actually providing them the ability to understand what the IdeaLife experience was all about. See, the IdeaLife experience is all about not skipping meals, getting your body started in the morning the right way, getting that metabolism firing, getting your body the right amount of protein. Secondarily to that, hydrating your body in the proper way, making sure that you're drinking your water, getting your electrolyte replenishment, not sabotaging your sleep by having caffeine too late in the afternoon. All of these things that, subconsciously we're working on the 6 inches between your ears, but it's having a direct, dramatic impact on the 40 inches around the waist. And of course, third to the experience, which is probably one of the most important parts, is getting you to understand and giving you permission to sleep again. We compromise. In fact, humans are the only mammals on the planet that literally stop themselves from going to sleep, usually because they have no time to get the things done they need to get done. But the reality is that lack of sleep is the number one cause of disease. So when IdeaLife was out there searching for a partner that could enhance the experience by providing a device that could measure the key factors to fitness, making sure that people are building muscle, the people that are hydrating their body in the proper way, and that they are getting the amount of sleep that they need, it took us a little while to find that right partner. And the good news is it didn't take us very long. See, because what the good news is we had an opportunity to speak with any number of wearable device companies, and we decided to partner with one of the world leaders, Garmin. Now, the reason why is obviously Garmin has a device for anyone and everyone, no matter what your status of life is. If you're a triathlete going to Hawaii to do the Ironman and you need their Super Phoenix device that does everything that a spaceship can do and more, then they have that device for you. Or if you're a 6-year-old kid and you just want to stay active and have fun and be able to do what mom and dad are doing and measure everything that you got going on, you know what, they got a device for you as well, and everything in between. And now with stress monitoring and health scoring and everything else that's included within these devices, it was a no-brainer for us to look at Garmin as a real partner. But the device itself wasn't the main reason why this partnership made sense to us. Obviously, there's a big announcement out there with regard to the device on the Garmin website. I encourage you to go out there and take a look. They've been a great partner from the marketing side as far as identifying what's going on. But if you look closely on that announcement, they're talking about not only the vivoactive trackers, but also the Index Smart Scale. Now, you heard me say a second ago that the scale is one of the greatest discouragers in these things. Well, the reality is the scale usually is. And the Garmin scale will give you your weight because, after all, it is a scale. But the Garmin scale does one thing that other scales simply can't do. It works with your wearable device to help you monitor your hydration percentage as well as watch your muscle weight. Now, why are these important? See, when you're going on a fitness journey, when you're actually going to start a health and wellness goal, the number one thing that you typically do is you get out the scale, you dust it off, and you decide you're going to step on that thing. Well, if you're following a program that actually is helping you lose fat and build muscle, remember I didn't say lose weight, I said lose fat, build muscle. A lot of times what happens in that first 30, 45 days is you don't lose a lot of weight. What you do is you build muscle at a rate that you lose the fat, which means the scale number is not going to change. But guess what happens in the process? As your muscle weight goes up, your metabolism goes up, your clothes fit better, and you feel better, and you have more natural energy, and you have more mental clarity, etc., etc. Unfortunately, what happens to a lot of people is because the number on the scale doesn't change on the pounds, they don't get an opportunity to see that the muscle weight is going up and see the benefit of their work. This scale will show you your muscle weight. So while the scale number may not change in pounds, you can actually watch the muscle weight go up so you get the encouragement of what you're doing is actually working. Secondarily to that, it also gives you your hydration percentage. This is key to maintaining your health goals. Remember, we have to stay properly hydrated. 74% of Americans are walking around at any given time without the proper amount of hydration in their body. We have to stay hydrated. The great thing about this scale is it will tell you what your percentage is. Again, we're all a little uniquely designed. So what our ideal hydration percentage point is going to be is all going to be a little bit different. But I'll tell you a personal story. My hydration point on the scale that I have at home was running about 49%, roughly. That's what number it just consistently keeps it at when I feel good. Well, I woke up one morning thinking I had an allergy situation, that there must have been something that came in overnight. Allergies own the night. If you didn't know that, you should learn more, and we can do a training on allergies and when you should be taking your allergy medicines, etc. But allergies do own the night, and I'll expand on that some other day. But when I woke up, I was thinking I was having an allergy issue. And I remember when I met with Garmin and we were talking about the hydration issue and how a lot of people associate disease, illness, and other things with the need to take certain drugs and things, but in reality it has more to do with hydration or improper hydration than anything else. I decided I was going to step on the scale and found out that my hydration that morning was at 47.6%, which was low for me, 1.4% below normal. So I was like, wow, could it really be this easy? So I started drinking a lot of water that morning, not taking the normal sinus medication that I would, hoping that, maybe this was the issue. Maybe this is why my head was hurting the way that it was. What's interesting, after I drank enough water, within a few hours, my headache went away. Now, is it a direct correlation between dehydration and the headache that I had? Well, to me it was. I ended up not having to take the drug, which was good for me because I don't like the way that it makes me feel. But what I found out that day was hydration is key to maintaining my health optimally. I was talking to some friends about, when they travel in the air, they don't understand when they're 30,000 feet up in that, pressurized cabin, that they need to be consuming water to stay properly hydrated. Otherwise, you have, those wonderful feelings of jet lag for the next day or two. But the whole idea behind this partnership was to give you the tool so that you could do these things. So here you have the ability to watch your muscle weight go up. You have the ability to monitor your hydration point to make sure that that's key. But there was something else that they also had. See, this Garmin Connect app is an unbelievable resource tool. We all have smartphones. We're all connected to these things. But if the wearable device doesn't give you the details and tools and resources and information that you need, I'll tell you this, the Garmin Connect app is information on overload. But the best part about it is it allows you to build teams, communicate with friends, do challenges. But the other thing that it does is gives you information on your sleep patterns. Everywhere from the average times that you were awake to your average light sleeping to your average deep sleeping. Deep sleeping is where we get that REM state, where we dream. We want that number to be up. You need to find out where that number should be, but the reality is this. This is a great tracking tool to make sure you're getting the sleep you need, and it's your own personal accountability tool. Again, you want to make sure that if you're, an active adult, you're getting, somewhere between 7 and 9 hours sleep a night. I know a lot of you say, well, I just don't have time or this, that, or the other. We've done a presentation on sleep and given you permission to sleep and some of the reasons why some of you feel like you can't go to sleep without television, smartphones, computers, etc., etc., etc. We can talk about that all day long. But the idea behind this was to provide you a tool, a resource that could do the sleep monitoring as well. So why did this partnership make sense? Well, because not only does the IdeaLife experience walk you through proper hydration, building lean muscle, and proper sleep, but now with the partnership with Garmin, you have the ability to have a tool that will monitor your hydration point, your muscle build, as well as your sleep pattern. So you can see how these things work seamlessly together. But more importantly than that, Garmin is a leader in this space. They are constantly going to be evolving their devices and bringing in new technologies. There's things that they're working on right now that would blow your mind that I can't talk about. But it is amazing to me this partnership has been so good. The fact that they seamlessly work together with everything that IdeaLife stands for, which is obviously healthy simplified, and getting people the results that they're looking for. In fact, speaking of results, today is the last day to jump in on our new team competition. We still have the individual competitions for men, for women, but now we have a new team competition on what we call the IdeaLife Experience Challenge. We encourage you to go to myidealifestory.com, register yourself, register your team, whatever you want. Between now and when we get to to September, we're going to be giving away over $35,000 in total for these contests. The whole idea is to get a team together, have fun with this. The whole idea behind the wearable technology discussion today was to show you that, we are making sure that you have the tools and resources necessary to get the results you're looking for, not some short-term result. This isn't a weight loss thing. No, this is a fat loss, muscle gain, permanent strategy to change your life for the better. and more importantly, to share it with others. So, one of the main things if you're going to start on a health journey, you need is an accountability partner. And what we wanted to do is build a team competition that would give you the ability to do just that. So, wanted to make sure everyone knew that today was the last day to register for the May competition. Yes, I know it's not May 1st right now, but guess what? We extended it a couple of days to give people an opportunity that hadn't heard about it to register. So, if you haven't registered yet, it's not too late, and I can't wait to see all the stories that come out about it. Again, why are we talking about wearable devices? Well, because this is a slide that we have been showing for a while now on these Wednesday Lunch and Learns. It's all about healthy living, and healthy living is not one single thing. Healthy living is diet, it is lifestyle, and it is nutrition. It's those three things built together that actually are going to get you to where you want to go. If you focus on any one and ignore the other two, you won't succeed. So the whole concept behind what we do at IdeaLife, the whole idea behind who we are, and what we develop as far as programming goes for you, the consumer, and for the people that we call partners, is to give them the tools, resources, and information necessary to live the healthiest life that they themselves want to live. Because at the end of the day, we're all a little uniquely designed. We all have our own little idiosyncrasies, and we all have the things that we're willing to do and the things that maybe we're just not willing to do. But that's okay. This is not a failure concept. Again, the main reason why wearable devices don't work is the same reason a scale by itself doesn't work. You don't want to feel like a failure because you don't hit a 10,000 step a day number. You don't want to feel like a failure because the scale doesn't move. What we want to show you is that you're more than that. You are more than a scale. You are more than a number. You're more than an amount of steps. What you are is a person that is unique, that is very special, and that is one step away from starting a healthier lifestyle. And that one step is followed by another. And we all start somewhere. But guess what? You're never going to get to where you want to go unless you start. So that's what this is about. If you want to learn more about IdeaLife and what we have going on, every Monday night, our CEO does an event right here, same channel, same time, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Monday nights. I encourage you to plug in. If you want to learn more about IdeaLife, we have a little event that we call Live It Up Las Vegas. We're going to be out in Vegas September 15th through the 17th. You saw that team competition and individual competition that I announced earlier. Lots of money going to be given away in Vegas for the teams that have the greatest transformations, have the greatest stories, that have the ability to show a commitment and the stick-to-itiveness, if you will, over the period of time. There's going to be 3 competitions run between now and then, and of course, we want you to participate in 1, 2, all 3. And you may not win any one of the individual months, but you could win the ultimate prize there in Vegas simply by staying with the program and getting the results that you're looking for. So keep the stories coming. Again, myidealifestory.com is where you can register, or you can go to idealife.com to learn more about it. I encourage you to do so. Next week is a presentation that is near and dear to my heart. Disney Channel or dietitians, where our kids are getting their nutritional information. This one is going to be very much like the kids' nutrition program that we did a couple of months ago. It's not going to be a lot of fun for me to give you the stats and figures of what's happening in this country. And in fact, something in the last few days kind of triggered this because we're changing the school lunch program again, and not necessarily for the better. But the idea behind this presentation is all going to be about the Disney Channel or dietitians and where our kids are getting their information and what they're learning in schools and what they're getting at home and where they are as a population. And to encourage you to get your friends, your family, and anyone else that you care about to listen to this, I only need to give you one stat. 1/3 of our kids in this country are overweight. 1/3. Of that 1/3 of kids that is overweight, 60% of them, 60% of these children are dealing with bullying in their schools every single day because of their weight. I shouldn't have to say anything else. That's really all I should have to say. But I encourage you to plug in next week, same time, 11:30 Central Standard Time. We're going to do this presentation, and we're going to learn some things that we can do to change things, and that's what I encourage you to do. So on behalf of IdeaLife, this is Mark Bennett. Again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to you being a part of next time.